to Bytes of Pi. This video will kickstart Lab 4D, representing names. Again, with this lab, we're upping the ante. We're getting a little more difficult. It's very much like Lab 4C, where you are not given any of the classes that you're going to be working with. But we're going to add a couple more levels of difficulty to it. Now, initially, in this exercise, you will write a class that will perform tasks on a person's name. So that sounds fairly simple. I'm just going to be adding first, middle, and last names of two different people. And I'm going to store it in this names class. And this names class will do a whole bunch of different things, like output the first, middle, and last into a single string. Mix that up a little bit. Take the first, middle, and last and kind of mix it up so that there's a last and then first, middle with a comma in there. And then it's going to do two other different things and spit out the length. Now, the two things I kind of want to point out, which will be the next level of difficulty, is this equals and initials. Now, this equals function is something up until now we've been passing in either strings or primitives like integers or doubles or booleans. What we haven't passed into a function is the same object. And what I wanted to do, so here what we're doing is we're taking one name and we're going to compare it to another name. So does this name equal another name? Logically, you can figure that out in your head if the first, middle, if I was to say John Wilkes Booth is the first name and John Wilkes Booth is the second name, you'd be able to tell right off the bat that they were the same names because they are essentially the first. I mean, you know that the first, middle, and last names are the same. However, I'm not passing in the first, middle, and last names. I'm passing in the name, the whole object. So you're going to have to find some way to compare both the first, middle, and last name of the first object that you're to the second object. And to give you an example, I've created this sample class called getColor. And it's fairly simple. I can create multiple sample colors. It's very much like the other classes we've created where I have a value and I have a function that will get the color. Now, I'm going to create an equals function that will say, how do I know this color, this actual class, equals this other color? Well, first I'm going to need to compare the string color. So just for giggles, I'm going to say get color. And this is going to refer to this version of get color. Now I want to compare that string with this other color. So if I have a color that's yellow, say this color is yellow, and I'm passing in a red, I need to get the string from the other class and compare that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the equals, ignore, just for giggles, I'm going to say ignore case, so if somebody typed it in like capital red or small case red, I really don't care. I just wanted to make sure that I'm using this first hints. Now in the document, I hint around about what functions from the string class you might want to use. In this case, we will want to use equals ignore case. So I have the yellow color, and I want to check to see if the red color string matches. So here I'm going to say I'm using this color, this class's color, and I'm going to compare it to the other class's color. And I'm going to return that, and that'll give me whether it equals or not. So it's a little confusing, but you'll have to think about, and you might want to trace through it to see what, or you might want to split it out too. You can also say string this color equals get color. Then we say string other color equals other dot get color, and then say return this color equals other color. And you can trace through it, so you can see. I would put a breakpoint here and trace and see, okay, this is yellow, this is red, and now I'm going to say does yellow equal red, and return that. If it's true, if yellow equals red, it'll return true. If it doesn't, it'll equal false, and that's what it's returning back here. So you'll have some sort of variation with this with the class object when you're going to be, but remember, it's not just, you're not just comparing the first name, you're comparing both first, middle, and last. And you can use these functions as well. So think about that when you're implementing letter G. And the last thing, initials. If I was to say get the initials of something, it gives you a hint. Instead of using the char function, which you could use, you could use substring class to get the first character and then uppercase that character. So for example, we're using the get color again. I want to say, I'm going to use color. I don't have to use a function. Color dot substring, and I want the beginning index and end index of 0. So I want to start at index 0, because remember all strings start with 0, and I only want one character. Okay, and then I want to also uppercase that. So if I want the uppercase initial characters, I want to say to uppercase. So notice how I'm chaining. In this case, I'm chaining a couple functions together, and that's the beauty about Java, is that I'm taking the string and I'm calling the substring. I'm getting the first character of that color, and then, which will say if it was a color yellow, it'd be lowercase y, and then I'm going to take that lowercase y and make it uppercase to a capital Y, and then return that value in the return string. So these are just some hints about how to approach these two classes. Length is fairly straightforward. You want to make sure that you get the full length of all three of these, the first, middle, and last. Second one, the test names is very similar to the other runner classes. I'm going to prompt the user for the first, middle, and last names. I'm going to create objects for those, and then I'm going to output them. And the sample output will look like something like this. So if I was to say if I was going to run this class, and this is my own little runner class, it would look something like this, and I want to check it with the output. So let's run this class. Okay. John Jacob Jingleheimer Billy, I don't say do lowercase Billy, Billy Ray Cyrus. And notice that even though I lowercase, so it'll look something like this. Even though I lowercased it, you notice that I'm still getting an uppercase Billy Ray BRC there, and that my length matches, and that Billy Ray Cyrus does not equal John Jacob Jingleheimer. Now, I would also test a positive case as well. So let's run this again, and I'm going to say, let's say John Adam Smith, John Adam Smith, and even though I don't have, the casing's different between both names, does person 1 share the same name as person 2? It's true. Now, a third case would be, let's just to make sure everything's running correctly, I'm going to say leave the first name the same, so John. They both have the same name, John, but maybe it's Adams Smith and John Billy Cyrus. So notice, even though they share the first name, they don't share the middle and last name, so they don't share the same name. This concludes the Kickstarter. Good luck.